Maybe you still think this thing is hopelessly ugly. I suppose we can make it look just a tiny bit better before we move on, instead of saving it for later. If we look at foundation, buttons were under controls, right? So button, button group. That's what we have. We have ourselves a button group. Button groups are containers for related action items. They're great when you need to display a group of actions in a bar. These build off the button styles and work perfectly with the grid. Yay, I like things that work perfectly. Add the button group class to a container, and inside it, place any number of buttons. Okay. Class button group inside a bunch of buttons. We already have this actions span. What if we just throw the class button group on there? Okay, but now they're on the next line. Also, they look just alike. Delete seems like it should be red. Remember under buttons we had different colors? So that's alert class. Ooh, orange might be nice for fave. So let's throw warning on that one and alert on the delete button. So fave button, warning. Remove button alert. What'd you say? Oh, it's not right against. Yeah, that's not a bad idea. Okay, feel free to do that. We have more. We have bigger fish to fry. Okay, great. So this button group, it claimed to work perfectly with the grid. Doesn't look that perfect to me. Gosh darn it. Add the expanded class to make it full width. Yeah, okay. Stacking, you can stack them, split them, blah, 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 a bunch of other stuff. So the grid. What if we basically wanted to start a whole new grid with each LI? Could maybe throw grid X on here. Would that work? And I think everything in there, everything in the grid needed to have a cell class. Remember that? So we could give the span a cell class and the button group a cell class to make it part of the grid. Then we don't need to do that for all its children. See what that does. Okay, not what we wanted. If we looked here, it said that would be a full width cell. Oh yeah, so we could throw something like small 6 or something to make it take up only 6. I want it to just like take the space that's left over there, sort of. I don't want it to be any bigger than it has to be. Let's see what we have here. We have some auto sizing. So if you throw auto on one of those, it'll take up whatever space is left. Cool. Cool. Ooh, a cell can be made to shrink. This means it will only take up the space its contents need. So if we put shrink on the button group and auto on the other, the buttons will only take up as much space as they need, and the name will take up whatever's left. So the name we want to be auto. The button group we want to be shrink. Why does it hate me? Let's see what styles are getting applied here. Grid X. I don't even see a rule being applied. Is that what it was? Class equals grid X. So let's look at the one that is working. Okay, nothing magic there. This medium 8. Okay, so that's doing something. Medium 8 cell. Grid X, select name cell auto. I don't see the auto is even affecting it in any way. So it gives. Okay, so we could have grid X, shrink cell in there, and that kind of looks like it ought to do a thing. So is it because it's an LI? It doesn't appear so. It doesn't appear that on the one where it's working. Let's see. That's what I'm trying to determine. So where is it working? It's working up here, right? See, this doesn't say like div dot medium 8. It wouldn't appear to matter. So what's so different about our dang list? So I set a new, I want to start a whole new grid on the LI. And I want to put cells and things on each of the things in the LI. By the way, remember how yesterday I looked up the documentation and I was kind of surprised to see this XY grid thing and it said new? You want to know how new it was? Yesterday. When I prepared Tuesday night, this thing was not in the documentation. So it was brand new yesterday. But I figured I may as well use the new stuff because it doesn't look hard. But right now it's not doing what I want, which is ticking me off. Shrink and cell. I don't see that I'm really doing anything wrong here. Cell. Ooh. Oh, no, down here. Grid X on the LI. Cell auto on one of the things inside of it. Just in case, I will real quick change these to divs. We'll see if it works. If it doesn't, then I'm just going to try to figure this out later, and we'll do it tomorrow because I don't want to waste the whole thing. Although, you know, there's some value. I hope you're not just tuning out. There's some value in watching how someone with experience troubleshoots, right? And reads the docs. That's why I talk incessantly as I do this. See if that's any different. Don't know why it would be, but I didn't see anything in the rules that looked like it mattered. Yeah, it's not doing what I want. So just to see, to make sure that I'm not completely out of my mind, what if I put small cell on each of these, or small 6 instead, and just try to do the whole traditional grid thing?
Did you make sure to update the CDN 6.4?
Yeah, because it's working up here, right? My grid X medium 8 cell is working just fine up there, but it's not working down here.
As far as using foundation, I'm not really sure, but if you use float right, it might.
Yeah, I didn't want to write custom CSS though because it looked like it had rules that would fit perfectly. Ooh, so small 6. Ooh, small 6 did do a thing. So the buttons. Small 50%. The small 6 is applying, but it's a but it's still not showing up there. Bizarre. Okay, we'll worry about it later. Oh wait, what? No, why was this working yesterday?
That's what I had
Oh, I reused the same CDN link. I thought it was, yeah, okay. Totally, that is the problem. The same as it was for you guys. Okay. Let's go back a bit. I thought it wouldn't have worked as well as it did if I hadn't done that yet. So yeah, let's do what we tried to do in the first place. Sorry about that. Yep, I had not. The documentation had changed. Yeah, I thought I had recopied the CDN link, but I had not. And when I was helping him troubleshoot yesterday, I totally caught that, but I thought I'd already done it. But when you're starting to lose your mind because it appears like things aren't there, yeah, always check your assumptions. So maybe auto and shrink. I maybe didn't change enough things here. Grid X, auto and shrink. I didn't. Yeah, after I did all my undos, I need to change this back. 6.4.0. That is a little more like what I meant. Now, what I don't love is that space in between. So if we look here, see that kind of how the space in between is kind of orange? If I scroll to the right here, I see at the bottom a representation of the box model. It shows border, margin, and stuff. So it looks like the thing I have highlighted right now doesn't have any border or margin. Doesn't look like the button does either. So what is it that has that dang border? The button itself appears to have a bunch of padding. That's okay. I could swear it is the button group. Don't know why it's not showing it to me. So in my CSS, I want to target that specifically. I want to target anything with a class of actions and a class of button group. Just in case I use button group somewhere else on the page, I don't necessarily want those. I want these. I want these that I have the class of actions on. In fact, if I want to be extra safe, I could say just inside one of these flick LIs, right? So the actions inside of the flick, I want to have a margin bottom of 0. There we go. Beautiful. Now there's some goofy space at the very bottom. The UL itself has margin bottom of 16. By the way, worth pointing out in the box model, here's the element itself. Then comes the padding, then comes the border, then comes the margin. Padding inside the border, it'll highlight in green. Margin outside the border, which kind of makes sense when you think about it. You pad it inside the thing, you add margin in between things, so it's outside the border. So we want to get rid of the bottom margin on the actual list. So here's my list container. Template, and these all have to do with the actual list, so I'm going to put a rule related to that right here. Not because it matters, but because it'll be easier to find my rules if I organize it. So flick list, I want to have a margin bottom of 0, I said. Don't need to put units on it if it's 0. I don't need to say 0 rim, right? 0, 0. Yeah, no empty space at the very bottom. So now my name here looks a little goofy, hugging the left side there. So I could also say dot flick name. Let's give it some padding. Let's say left and right. So by the way, the shorthand, I could do padding left, padding right. If you just say padding, and I think we've seen that somewhere else before, it goes top, right, bottom, left in that order. Top, right, bottom, left. So top and bottom, zero's fine, whatever. Left and right. Is one rim too big? Maybe. And actually now the top and bottom look kind of dumb. What if I say auto on there? Yeah, still a little goofy top and bottom, but we can worry about that later. How come I don't even see my left and right? Where's my rule? Oh, it's getting overridden. Look at that. See how it's crossed out? So something else is giving it padding. Where's that rule coming from? Why is it crossed out? Oh, actually the little warning here makes it look like I invalid property value. Maybe auto actually isn't a thing for top and bottom. Oh, that's margin that has auto. Yeah. We'll just put 0 for now. And by the way, when top and bottom are the same as each other and left and right are the same, you can shrink this down to just 2 things. So the first one is top and bottom. The second one is left and right. I'd say 0.5 is probably enough. So we'll just do that. And what I really want is for these things to be vertically aligned. So this is in the center. I'm guessing that this thing makes that really easy. But if I don't find it right away, I'm not going to be worried about it. Vertical alignment. So it says it's there. Okay, so where's the rule about that? Okay, horizontal alignment, there we go. Vertical alignment. Align middle. So it looks like you put that on the thing with the grid X, not on the individual cell. So that's the LI, right? That's where the grid X is. Let's say align middle. Oh yeah. Now we are talking. Could use just a tiny bit of border on those things. It's in our CSS. We haven't bordered styled the actual flick LI itself, have we? Let's put a border of 1 pixel solid, a pretty light gray. By the way, you put 3 things there. That's the same thing as just assuming both digits of each color are the same. And gray, if all the numbers are the same, you got gray. Okay, now we got just a little bit of border on each one. I'm going to do one more nitpicky thing. First of all, I'm not so sure about the border on the left and right. What do you think? I think it looks bad. Also, notice in between each one, it's kind of thick. Why? Right, because we have both top and bottom. What do we do about that? Collapse. Border collapse. CSS border collapse. Specifies whether a table's borders are separated or collapsed. In a separated border model, adjacent cells have their own distinct borders. Now it says table. Applies to table and inline table elements. So I kind of am not sure that we're allowed to use that on something like a UL or an LI. Let's see. Border collapse. Collapse. Rules make it sound like that should be illegal. And yeah, it didn't work. No problem. We did something yesterday. If I want the top border, let's say all but the top one. Let's see. Yeah, go ahead. What are you saying? Remove either the top or the bottom border on most of them. So let's just get rid of it. Let's just get rid of border top 0. Border top 0. That should override. So they all have a bottom one, including the very bottom one. You see that? The bottom one has that bottom border too. The top, so what if we say we want there to be no top border on all but the very top one? Or an adjacent sibling selector? So a flick that is an adjacent sibling of another flick should have no bottom border, but maybe the top one does. So now we're at least consistent. Maybe we don't think that top border looks very good. But if this didn't have a fiery background, that would look okay. But now at least we don't have this goofy double border, and we have borders on both the top and bottom. It is. If we say left and right looks bad, then instead of just setting a border everywhere, we could say, what? We don't want left and right. We want one or the other, top and bottom. So how about border and maybe the top one doesn't have any. Maybe we just say everyone that follows another one should have a top border, and nothing else should have a border. 1 pixel, solid, light gray. It still looks kind of ugly around the buttons, doesn't it? But we're not doing the wrong thing exactly anymore. There's also some goofiness at the very, very bottom. If we hide our background color, or our background image, then I would say that's probably what we want. So if you're goofy like me and put this fiery thing, maybe it doesn't look quite perfect, but it still looks okay. If it were black, would it look better? Oh, like the actual background color? Yeah, so the issue here is that there's a border around the buttons too, and the button border against that other thing isn't so great. So I'm not going to obsess over this anymore right this second. The background color's throwing off my usual code, so it doesn't look as good as it usually does. So I'm just going to fiddle with that later. For right now, that's all right with me. We could just say screw the border altogether. And we'll worry about it later. I know. What'd you say?
The buttons kind of imply a border anyway, since there's that white space.
Yeah, so between that, there doesn't need to be. Maybe there's only a border on the other thing. What's that thing called? Flick name? That looks terrible. Oops. I promised I'd stop. Style the list. We did a bunch of that in this little unit.